Welcome to this LinkedIn conversation. Today, we're going to be talking with Brian Rollo. Brian Rollo is a leadership coach. He's a culture strategist. His mission is to put people first in culture. Now, we're facing very different times, so in today's podcast, we're going to be talking about leaders, what they can do now to prepare for the aftermath when we're integrated back in. What can they do now to sharpen their skills? We get to talk about his mission and what drove him to where he is right now, but also what has helped him to navigate what we've been going through right now. And finally, we delve into what do leaders need to know when this is all over, when we get back integrated back into society, back into the company. This was a conversation that I was privileged to have, and I'd like to invite you in on the LinkedIn conversation. Hi, welcome to this LinkedIn conversation. This is going to be an opportunity for us to reach out to those in our LinkedIn community by having a conversation. So we're going to go beyond the messaging, and we're actually going to be talking face to face, and you will be able to sit in and be able to take advantage of this opportunity. With me today, I'm having a wonderful conversation with Brian Rollo. He is a business culture strategist. He is a leadership coach, and he helps everyone put people first in their culture. Welcome, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing well, Joshua. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to have a great conversation.
Absolutely. So to get us started, I know about you, but why don't you just just let everyone know who you are, what you're about, what your mission is.
Yeah, be perfect. My name is Brian Rollo, as you said, and I am a culture strategist, I like to call myself. I help businesses and leaders benefit by putting people first philosophies and processes into place. I had a long career on the corporate side of things, and a little bit, maybe more than a year and a half ago, I left to go pursue my own consulting firm because I felt like I had a bigger mission, and that's pretty much it. I want to take that mission. I really am passionate about it in helping leaders and businesses get better. And I believe when they do that, just work becomes better for everyone.
That's fantastic. Now, of course, everyone's mission has had a little bit of a standstill considering the circumstances with the COVID-19 and a lot of people being driven to their homes and having to work from home. And a lot of employees right now are using this time to level up their skills. They're using it to get better. But we're finding that a lot of leaders are either sent home as well, or some of them are actually working from home. And there's only so much that you can do as a leader. You have your conference. So, what have you been doing as a leadership coach, and what you've been doing? What have you been doing during this time to keep yourself active, busy, and keeping yourself in that leadership mindset?
That's a fantastic question. Well, in my role, I'm always learning. I, for me to be able to do what I do, I have to keep learning. I'm just like a sponge. I love it. Sometimes I have to pull myself away from the learning a little bit because I always want to learn more. And I know there is always more to learn. So for me, it is always a balance. But I believe now, as you said, is a great time for people to invest in themselves and take this downtime that a lot of us have, and really invest it instead of spend it. I see social media posts all the time about, binging on Netflix now and the ways people are spending their time. And I'm not passing any judgment. We all need a little downtime. But I think it would be an opportunity lost for a lot of us if we did not use some of this new free time that we have to really make ourselves better.
And what would you suggest? So those that are leaders right now that do have this time. So we've got the mindset, we've got the principles down, but what would you suggest some steps that they could take to sharpen their minds right now to become a better leader, not only for those if they are still serving, but when they go back into the workforce, what can they do now to sharpen their leadership skill set?
Well, first of all, I would say that the primary goal is always be learning and be evaluating. This is uncharted waters for all of us. I know I'm not the first person to say that, but it is true today as it was yesterday and will be tomorrow. There are going to be changes to the workplace. There are certainly cultural changes that are happening day by day. The way we led yesterday may not be the ways that we lead tomorrow, especially when all of this ends, or the way people need us to lead right now. I believe the principles will remain the same. I believe the mindset of serving people will remain the same, but the channels in which we deliver those principles will change. The functional way that we bring this to people will change, and maybe the tenor and tone may have to change as well.
And what can they do to do that right now? What are some action steps that they can take right now? Those that are listening, that are part of our LinkedIn community, that are they want to take advantage of this time, but may not know exactly the steps to take. So what advice would you give those leaders that are out there that are listening to this?
Well, there's so much great content out there. I hesitate to send them to one specific source. There's a ton of great leadership content out there. For me, my recommendation is find someone who delivers solid content that you feel you can also personally relate with, and that may even be there to help you implement when it comes time to implement. Because I find that a lot of times the problem with leaders putting what they've learned into practice isn't that they don't know what they should do. It is that it is hard to do. It is that other things get in the way. The problem is that things don't always go like they go in the book you read or the video you watched. Anytime you are dealing with real life people, it is unpredictable. And you will try to implement strategies, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't work. So to answer your question, I think find someone who delivers content in a way that resonates with you, solid content, and ideally someone that can be there as a support system for you. So when you implement and things don't go exactly as planned, you have a sounding board or someone to help you redirect.
That's really great. That's really great advice, because I've certainly found that to be the case where, especially now, because there are a lot of individuals, a lot of leaders that are not necessarily taking advantage of this time to get their message, but they're using this time to really make impact with their message, and you're definitely seeing that all across the board. Now, for you personally, dealing with this crisis and dealing with this, especially with your business, what has led up to this point? So what principles and mindset, and probably from your background, that has prepared you for this particular time that we're living in right now?
Well, I don't know that anything can prepare any of us for exactly what we're going through right now as far as the details, but the principles that help us get through this, I think, were embedded in me a long time ago. You know, Joshua, my story starts many years ago. Like a lot of people, I was a good performer at work, and my bosses liked my work. It stood out to them. So one day they tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Brian, now you get to manage people. Congratulations. You now manage 5 people, 6 people. Here's the keys to the office. Good luck." And it sounds easy. It seems like a promotion. Everybody's really excited when they get that tap on the shoulder. But soon they come to the realization that managing people is not quite as easy as it looks. And that it's far easier to be the person complaining about the manager than actually being the manager complaining the people who are or managing the people who are complaining. So everybody has to make that journey that is in management. And I made it too. And to be honest, I was not very good at it at first. I was trying to implement on my own. I was trying to just cause and effect. Let's try things, sink or swim, see if they work, see if they don't. And the problem with that is when you are guessing at how to lead people, your mistakes can cause real harm because you're not testing in a vacuum. You are affecting real people. You're affecting not only your company and their productivity, but you are affecting the lives of real people. And when you make a mistake leading someone, when you do things you should not do, when you undermanage or overmanage, you are affecting real people. You're affecting their home lives. You're affecting their careers. So I eventually got to the point where I realized I'm not as good as I need to be at this. And so I went on a journey of learning as much as I could, taking in all the content I could and applying it. And although it still was a little bit of trial and error, after a number of years, I got better. And I saw what really works when leading people and what people respond to and what they don't respond to. And eventually, I was asked to manage more people and then create training for the other managers in my organization and then oversee all of the training. And that all led me up to this point. But the genesis of it was learning that I was underprepared for what I needed to do. And I really believe that leadership is not a innate talent. It is not a gift. It is an umbrella of skills that anyone with the right attitude can learn. So it became my passion to be the person helping other people that are in the situation I was take sort of the fast pass where they can accelerate through that zone of confusion and really avoid making some of the mistakes that I made.
You talk about that this is your passion. So you go through a process where you become a manager, you become a leader, which many follow that path. But how did that passion fuel you to actually take action and pursue this mission that you had to help people? Because there are many people right now that have a passion and they have something that they want to do. And now they have some time to really reflect on that. Yet you're someone that went after your passion and actually pursued it. And now you're actually able to make impact in people's lives. So what did you do? What was that breakthrough moment for you that allowed you to be able to actually do this today?
Well, there's two schools of thought with this. It's a interesting question. There's two schools of thought, and I can represent both of them. One is that you want to learn as much as you can on the side. I totally am in support of that, and really gradually build up on your passion until it becomes the only smart thing to do is to leave your full-time job and go pursue your passion, if that's sort of the way you're asking the question. The other way, which I did, is learn as much as I could, and then at some point just sort of rip the Band-Aid off and go. So for a while, I sort of had this feeling that was building up that not that there was more out there, because I loved the company I worked for. I still do love the company that I worked for. I love all the people there. They're a fantastic group of people. But it just over time felt to me, as I learned more about motivation, I learned more about what makes people tick. I learned how you can really change somebody's state and create breakthroughs for them. Maybe at work, but in ways that translate to their whole life. That was what I knew I had to be doing all of the time. And so I just sort of said, it's time to go, and moved away from it and jumped sort of headfirst into this new world. And I started out here. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. I could go on, but I think that answers your question.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Now, you turn that passion into a mission, and that is to put people first, and that is definitely everything that everything that you do, everything that you speak that is the mindset. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about that, and what's that about, and why is that your mission?
So, first of all, to answer your question simply, it's because that's what I believe to be the most effective way to lead. in the workplace, outside of the workplace, is a people first philosophy. Now, a little backstory. In 1970, see, we're going way back. 1970, as you may know, a philosopher and business professional by the name of Milton Friedman introduced a principle via an article he wrote, a principle of shareholder primacy, it was called. And basically, it was stating that he felt the best way for businesses to operate was to put their shareholders first, or in other words, put profits first. And this gradually became accepted as the best way to run a business. And from 1970 on, businesses embraced this philosophy to a large extent. Shareholders first, money first. Friedman's whole concept was if you put money first, the people will take care of themselves, the customers will take care of themselves, but the only purpose of a business is to make money. I would argue that's one of the most damaging business philosophies that's ever been unleashed on this planet. And we could spend a lot of time talking about some of the bad things that have happened because of it. You name the scandal that's happened, the business scandal that's happened in the past few years, I think I can draw a line between that scandal and Milton Friedman's idea about putting profits and shareholders first. It took till last year, 2019, for a global organization called the Business Roundtable to officially change their stance that shareholder primacy is not the most effective way to run businesses anymore. And their model was that shareholder primacy, shareholders and profit should now be put on an equal footing with customers, employees, and the community. So I tell that short story just as a way to lead up to my philosophy that I would take that a step further and say that in 2020 and beyond, I think the wise way to run a business is a people first approach. And simply the formula is this: if you empower the people that work for you, if you engage them in their work, if you make them feel connected to their work and that they really belong and that they just aren't the proverbial number, they will do so much more. They'll be so much more creative. They'll be so much more innovative. They will treat your customers so much better than they will if they feel like they're in second or third place. Putting people first leads to happier customers. That leads to better ideas, which in turn leads to those profits, which make the shareholders happy. So that's really my philosophy, and it became a core part of my messaging and the way I want to run my business. You know, I read a great book. I'm so mad that I can't think of the author right now. It's called Anything You Want. And I read this not too long ago, and I know the author too, and I can't remember it, but Anything You Want, look it up. And his whole philosophy is you can, if you're starting your own business, that business can be anything you want. It's your own private world. You can make up your own rules. You don't have to go by anybody else's rules. This is your business. Make it the world you want. And I decided that the people I want to work with and the people that I will be most effective working with are companies and leaders that embrace a similar philosophy. I think for people that have that sort of philosophy, I'm the best person that they can work with, or one of the best, I should say. And I think for people that have a different philosophy, I wouldn't want to work with because neither one of us would be happy.
So, what are ways that leaders now, considering our circumstances, whether let's say they are still at home and they're reaching out to those and they're leading a group now on this LinkedIn, on this Zoom meeting platform, or let's say they are not able, let's say they were sent home, but they will be coming back. What are some ways that we can make that what you're talking about? How can we display that now?
I led a webinar yesterday and had very similar questions. And one of the questions was about making time for check-ins and making time to talk to people. And the question, I get this all the time, it's not unusual: how do I make time to talk to the people that work for me? I have all these other important things to do. I have reports to write. I have files to finish. I have customers to reach out to. How do I find time to talk to the people that work for me, to connect with them? And my philosophy is talking and connecting to your people isn't taking time away from important things. It is the important thing, especially now. So one of the big things that I think leaders need to do right now is create strong connections. Not only is this remote work move that happened so quickly new for the managers, it's new for the people there. And without connection, certain emotional states will start to become larger and larger, like frustration, isolation, loneliness. A lot of people look to work not only as a way to make money, they derive a certain amount of social engagement from it. I think a lot of people do. They have friends at work. They have people they go out to coffee with. They chat at the water cooler, so to speak. And that, for a large part, in a large way, has disappeared. So leaders really need to understand there is now a void there, a social void, an emotional void, that one of the big things they need to be doing is be aware of that and work on ways to connect. One of the simple tools that I've been recommending to leaders is use a simple video app. There's a number of them out there where you can very quickly record videos and send people links within a minute. And get a video out every day to your whole team and to do one-on-one check-ins as much as possible. But especially right now, leaders need to be visible. And by visible, I don't mean writing an email or sending a memo or sending a Slack message. I mean visible as in we can see you. We can see your face. We know this is important to you. We're having a little bit of social connection even over video. I believe that is extremely important right now.
And that would be really the same principle whether it's now or before, because that has always been a founding principle of leadership. Is in order to lead, they need to see you actually doing that. So a lot of people can tend to fall into that trap of email and, like you said, just Slack messaging, but really getting out to people. And I like the fact that you mentioned using a video app, because it's not really specifically what you use, but just the fact that you do something that's really important. And
can I just jump in there?
yeah,
Because I want
please
to
do.
emphasize your point. You nailed it. It's always been important, but before, with in-office employees, part of that happens almost unintentionally. Unless you go and lock yourself in your office as a leader, you are out and about and visible, just moving through your daily routine. And there's all these subconscious inputs and feedback that you're getting just by walking by a group of people or just by popping your head in the office. You're getting feedback all the time as to the emotional state of people, their workload. You may not be looking for it, but you are receiving it. And that passive sort of feedback has been removed. So although it is 100% true, it's always been important, now we just have to be much more proactive about it.
Because we can tend to lock ourselves into the office, and right now we actually have to lock ourselves in the office because we're
Good
in
point.
quarantine.
Right.
But with that being said, there are still many avenues out there that will allow us to continue to reach out and connect with everyone. So
Yeah.
with that being said, going into this, so what do we have to do to prepare for the other side? So that's the path. This is where we are right now. But at some point, we're going to get through this. We know that. So what do we have to expect when we come out of this? What can leaders do? Because that's when even this message or your message is going to be amplified, because now people are going to feel stronger. People are going to feel stronger, more empowered. They're going to feel like they just made a major breakthrough getting through this. So now leaders are going to come across very empowered and strong individuals that feel hope. So how can leaders prepare for that?
Well, I would suggest a couple of things. First, on a functional level, realize that, although I agree with everything you said, realize that some things will probably never be the way they were. And that we need to be preparing right now for what is likely to transpire in this new world. I'll give you a good example. The company I used to work for, again, great company, but I just know that if somebody had came to us when I was there and said, how long will it take you to have 88% of your workforce working remotely? We would have said a year, maybe 6 to 9 months. It would have been a long process with a lot of milestones in between. And it would have been a very detailed plan that was gradually implemented. A lot of companies did that process in 7 to 10 days. And they had to do it much more quickly than they wanted to, which is why, again, right now they might need some help in sort of filling those gaps. But the point is now it's done. Now we've ripped the Band-Aid off, so to speak. And we'll start to see, along with some of the challenges, some of the benefits of having remote workers. So I think it is only logical to deduce that when all is said and done, companies that have ripped the Band-Aid off may say, we're not going to bring as many people back into the office as we had before. Why do we need to be paying all this overhead for a commercial space that we had before? Now that we've ripped the Band-Aid off, people are working from home. We've set it all up. We've done the investment. Does it make sense to erase all that? So I think functionally, you will see certainly many more hybrid teams going forward. And this remote working being not just a function of COVID-19, but I hate to use this phrase because I think it's overused, the new normal going forward. So leaders need to be prepared for that and take what they're learning right now in reference to leading virtual teams and remote workers and really standardize it as not an emergency response, but the way we do things going forward to some extent. I think there are certainly, I'm sorry, you have a question?
No. Go ahead, please. Keep going. Yeah, this is great.
And then I would think that in the short term, here's some things that I've been tossing around in my head. And these aren't necessarily long term, but I think in the short term, they will be. Maybe they will be long term. Once the order comes down that we can come back, however that comes, whether it's gradual all at once, who knows how that will work. I believe we will see a movement among a lot of people to retain, at least temporarily, social distancing practices. So social distancing, I think, is something that is not going to be a temporary philosophy. I think as we move back into in-office, on-site employees, there's going to be a subset of our workplace that will not feel comfortable right away meeting in large groups. I think when people are used to sitting in boardrooms or conference rooms or meeting rooms with 20 or 30 or more people, 6 inches away on one side, 6 inches away on another, it may be a while before some of us feel comfortable with that again. So workforces should be ready for that. Leaders should be ready for that. How are we going to handle that? If half of our population is comfortable meeting in person and half isn't. And again, going back to my HR side, it's going to come out a little bit. I think a lot of businesses and organizations really are going to need to rethink sick day policies, absence policies. Joshua, if 3 months ago you and I were sitting in a meeting room full of people and the person sitting next to you started coughing, you might not have thought too much about it. But I bet if it happens the week after we come back into the office, you're going to think more about that. And it will be something that the whole room is thinking about. So I think businesses are really going to have to rethink sick day policies, the policies for when people can work and can't work when they're feeling well. I think this is something that is going to be long-term that leaders really should start thinking about right now.
Yeah, certainly, because will be, like you said, the new normal. So this is certainly, while many employees are getting ready to introduce themselves back into the workforce, leaders are doing the same thing. So really, to your point, what are they going to be thinking? Because a leader is to serve. And how can you serve them best when they come in? And these are all wonderful points for them to consider as we as we go forward. So really the big question is, what's next? What's next? So somebody watching this, a leader watching this, or maybe even a person watching, an employee watching this, what do you think is next for them? What is the next step that they need to take, whether today or the week, or maybe just something they just need to think about going forward?
Well, I wish I could predict the future with 100% accuracy, especially as it comes to COVID-19. Unfortunately, I'm not able to do that. But I think the writing is on the wall, so to speak, about a number of things. First of all, if you are working from home right now, embrace it. Become as efficient and productive as you possibly can be at home, because we are all being asked to prove ourselves in a new environment. I don't even want to get into unemployment and layoffs and all those things, but they may be part of our future. I think if I'm talking to an employee right now, take the current situations and make yourself the best at it you possibly can be for your job security and to prove your worth. You know, with every challenge comes an opportunity. And as much as this is a horrible situation that none of us wish happened, there are going to be opportunities for us as team members to prove that we can adapt, to prove that we can excel in new situations. As leaders, I think it's just simple. Leadership is going to be more important than ever. Presenting a consistent message, learning how to engage people both on site and off site, learning about your mission, finding out how to talk about your mission in a way that engages people. Again, you would probably say it's always been important, and it has been. I've been saying it for a long time, along with a lot of other people, but more so now. You need a message and a mission that is going to captivate someone, whether they're sitting next to you in the office or whether they're 100 miles away working from home. It needs to be that strong, or we are creating that buy-in, and we are creating a tribe of people who are with us in good times and bad times and believe in your organization's mission.
And that's really great. That's really great for those to think about. And I just wanted to take a moment. I want to be respectful of your time, but I want to take a moment to acknowledge you and for the work that you're doing. I know when I first we first started connecting, I was really drawn to your message and the need for the message. And I really enjoy your passion and that you took that mission and you actually did something with it. It wasn't just a mission, but it was saying, I want to impact. And because of your experience, you're able to help so many people. And I just wanted to acknowledge you for that. I wanted to acknowledge your time. And but I also want to, what can people do to find out more about your work, your mission, what you're trying to do? What's the best way to connect and follow and really contribute to Brian Rollo's mission?
The easy way to find me is my website, brianrollo.com, BrianRollo.com. That homepage will tell you a little bit about me. If you'd like to dig deeper into either my coaching programs or my consulting programs, I have pages on both of those if somebody wants to dig into that and see what that looks like. And I would encourage everybody to reach out to me on LinkedIn. My ID, I believe, is Brian L. Rollo. You can find me there, or just go to follow Joshua. If you follow Joshua, you'll find me, because I know we're connected a lot. So, and I want to say the same thing back to you. You know, I appreciate everything you've done. You are a great example of someone who just takes a circumstance and says it's not ideal, but I'm not going down without a fight. I'm going to find a way to get through this. And I know that you have adapted your message. You've adapted your tactics. And that is inspiring to me to see. So even the opportunity to do this, I greatly appreciate it. And I want to thank you for that.
Absolutely. That's why we have this LinkedIn community. That's why we're having these LinkedIn conversations, because we have so many great people in our area locally, but even across the world, that we can really build off of one another. And it's very important, especially now, for us to connect not only with those with our mission, but even leaders need to feed themselves. And this is important for leaders also to reach out to one another, to help one another, because we're all in this together and we will get through this. So I will put all of that information in the links below for everything. And once again, I thank you and I hope you have a fantastic day.
All right, you too. Thank you, Joshua.
Well, thank you for joining us for this LinkedIn conversation. I thank Brian once again for this conversation that we had. Please look to below for the links. Look in the description for the links to be able to reach out for his work. And if this is something that you are interested in, if you have a mission that you want to amplify, that you want to get out there, please feel free to DM me. I'd love to have a conversation with you. But more importantly, the whole LinkedIn community would love to hear what you're doing, how you did it, so that it can really motivate them to be able to take action and be able to make a difference in the world that we live in right now. Until next time, I'll see you.